My mother has always had a way of talking about me that makes me feel like furniture. Present, occasionally useful, but never the reason anyone came into the room. I noticed it early, around 7 or 8, when my younger brother Connor started winning things. Spelling bees, little league, science fairs. His trophies filled the mantle. His name filled the house. I remember standing in the hallway once when my mother told my grandmother, her voice bright with pride, "He's going to be something." She saw me, smiled politely, and kept talking. I went upstairs and told myself it didn't matter. I repeated that lie for the next 20 years. Now Connor is 31. Perfect hair, firm handshake, effortless confidence. A corporate lawyer. The kind of son people mention at dinner parties. He got engaged to Jessica last spring. Smart, warm, observant in ways I didn't realize at first. I'm Maya. I'm a school counselor. I've been one for 6 years at a public middle school in the same city where I grew up. I also run a nonprofit called Second Floor, named after the hallway where kids started showing up before first bell because they had nowhere else to go. My parents have never asked about it. My mother calls it my little project. That pause before the project says everything. The wedding was in October at a renovated estate outside the city. Stone walls, oak trees, curated elegance. 400 guests, my mother liked to remind everyone. I drove myself. My seat at the ceremony was in the fifth row. My parents sat in the front. I watched the back of my mother's perfectly styled hair as Connor cried at the altar. It was beautiful. I cried too, quietly, prepared for it. At cocktail hour, my mother hugged me briefly, told me I looked nice, then disappeared into more important conversations. I found a corner, a glass of wine, and the familiar feeling of being there but not really seen. The reception hall was all soft lighting and polished wood, warm with conversation and expectation. I found my place card and paused. Table 11, far corner, partial view of the dance floor if you leaned. No view of the head table at all. I sat with strangers, Jessica's cousin Brooke, kind and talkative, two of Connor's college friends absorbed in their own world, and an older couple who asked how I knew the couple, then seemed faintly surprised when I said I was the groom's sister. Dinner came, speeches followed. My father stood, confident as ever, and delivered something beautiful about Connor's discipline, his integrity, the man he had become. The room hung on every word. Near the end, he added, "We're so proud of our family, everyone here tonight." His eyes passed briefly over my table. I lifted my glass slightly. He moved on. I excused myself to the bathroom afterward, running cold water over my wrists, grounding myself the way I'd learned years ago. In the mirror, I looked composed, like someone who belonged. I considered leaving. I'd never done it before, but this time the thought felt steady, almost reasonable. "You've done enough," a quiet voice said. "No one is watching you." I went back anyway. 10 minutes later, the evening shifted. A man approached our table, tall, composed, silver at his temples. He looked at me with recognition I didn't understand. "Maya?" he asked. I nodded. "I've been hoping to meet you." He introduced himself as Dr. Richard Okafar. The name stirred something faintly familiar. Then he mentioned his daughter Priya, and everything clicked. She'd come into my office months ago, quiet, hurting, unsure she wanted to keep going. We had worked together for weeks. I had kept the door open for her. He looked at me and said softly, "You made her feel seen." Something in my chest shifted. Then he said almost casually, "I also wanted to congratulate you. Your organization, Second Floor, the federal grant was approved. Full funding, $1.8 million over 3 years." I went very still. "I didn't know," I said. He smiled. "You will." I set my glass down carefully, as if the room might tilt if I didn't. $1.8 million, 3 years. The late nights, the rewritten proposals, the quiet belief I had carried alone. It had all landed somewhere real. Dr. Okafar spoke about the second floor like it mattered, not politely, not vaguely, specifically, intentionally. He knew the work, the reach, the gaps we were trying to fill. We talked, really talked about what the next 3 years could look like, about expanding into more schools, about building something sustainable. At some point, I realized I was leaning forward, fully in the conversation, not shrinking, not waiting to be dismissed. That's when my mother appeared, her voice lifted slightly, polished. Dr. Okafar, hello. I didn't realize you knew each other. He smiled. Your daughter is doing extraordinary work. You must be very proud. There was a pause, just a fraction too long. Of course, she said, placing a hand lightly on my shoulder. Then he told her about the grant. I felt her hand go still. My father joined moments later, drawn by the gravity of importance. He shook Dr. Okafar's hand, nodded along, repeated words like impressive and remarkable, as if trying them on for size. When Dr. Okafar left, my father looked at me differently, not quite proud, something more uncertain, like recognition arriving late. Connor found me later near the dance floor. I heard about the grant, he said. Jessica told me. She's known about your work for months. I looked at him. He exhaled. I should have said something a long time ago. I let the silence sit, then said quietly, I love you, but things are going to be different now. I decide how much of myself I bring into those rooms. He nodded. That's fair. I know. He hugged me, really hugged me, and this time I let myself feel it. I left that night the same way I arrived, alone, but it didn't feel the same because I wasn't waiting to be seen anymore. I already was.